is to like your clients, to like people, to be able to deal with individuals and talk with them and make them feel that you felt their case was the most important in the world and that you would do your very best for them. Not many people can do that, and that is a real talent. When I ever interviewed anybody, I always wanted to know about their family. I wanted to know enough discussion with them to know that they could relate to me and communicate with me and have that passion to do the best they could. And so I would try and tell new attorneys, you can always learn the law, but you can't learn these special things that make your clients want to rely on you to do a good job. My dad and my grandfather actually graduated from law school about the same time. My grandfather was teaching school in Bonners Ferry, Idaho, and my dad graduated from law school. While he was attending law school, my grandfather was going at nights to Gonzaga, about 2 hours away from where he lived. He'd teach during the day and then go down at night, take the classes, and they graduated about the same time. And they were looking for a place to open up a law practice. My dad had been born around American Falls, Idaho, so they thought maybe southern Idaho would be a place, and they drove through Twin and said, this is where we want to be. That would have been right around, I was 2 years old. That would have been about 1952, beginning of 1953. And they opened the firm under the name of May and May. This building that we're in right now used to be the priory for the church that was on the corner to the south of us where the library parking lot is. That used to be a church house. And this was the priory. And it was built in 1916. If you go down in the basement into what we call the spider room, you go in and you can see the old wood beams up in the ceiling. It was quite a bit smaller then and had just a little small basement where the coal boiler was that I used to take the clinkers out of. And my dad had represented a handyman. I forget his name now, but they exchanged the fee for some work that he would do. He put a conveyor belt down in a window on the side over by the alley, and he dug out the entire basement underneath us by hand. And then he built the cement walls and put the whole basement together. Then probably 25 years ago now, we built on the back end and made the building bigger and put outside siding and things on it. My grandfather was an interesting fellow. He had an absolute talent for meeting people and immediately knowing them. And I remember he treated everybody the same, whether they came in boots and mud from the dairy or whether they had suits on. He treated them all the same and taught me to do that from the beginning. The first memory I have of when we got new telephones that had more than one line, they had little red buttons on the bottom of the telephone. And my grandpa, I can remember, he used to be, actually his office was right where we're at right now. And he had a big old desk with that telephone, and I can remember hearing him in there hitting those buttons going, who the hell do I have? And he couldn't figure out which line was going at the time, trying to find whoever he was trying to talk with. He never got the hang of that. It was quite an episode that he had as technology changed. My dad gave me an introduction to the law. He would take me out of school, grade school and junior high, I remember in particular, and he would take me for the day, and I would go up to Boise, for instance, where he had trials, and he'd take me back and introduce me to the judges, and then the judges would introduce me in court and let me sit in the jury box, and I got to watch trials and hearings and meet the attorneys, and by the time I got away to law school, I knew most of them by that time. I had an absolute ball going with my dad and attending hearings and learning about the law. So I remember I always wanted to be a liar like my dad. I figured that's what he was saying. And every time I came down to see him, he had his feet up on the desk drinking a Pepsi. And I thought, wow, that's the way to have a career. Dad loved trial work, and he would walk from one door to the other, pacing back and forth as he'd get ready, and then the door would burst open and he had a tape that he listened to of Sousa marches, and he would listen to that all the way across the park over to the courthouse. By the time he got there, he burst through the door and he was ready to go at that point. But I remember my dad instilling in me, and I tried to do the same, of hard work. My dad would spend hours down here trying to prepare, probably over-prepared for his trials. He tried to do the very best that he could. He was always wanting to be the best. He wanted to do his very best. He wanted to be involved in the organization of the legal business, not just take care of the clients, but to make sure that we, all as attorneys, did our very best. And he worked hard at that, I remember. One of the places that he went on a seminar was down to San Francisco. And while he was there, he met the president of the California Trial Lawyers Association. He came back and he was so excited about an organization that educated lawyers how to be trial attorneys. He ended up being the founding president of the Idaho Trial Lawyers Association. I think there is an award that's given annually in his name to a member of the Idaho Trial Lawyers Association that has shown great ability to be a trial attorney. Towards the end of his career, he went up to Haley and he became the judge for Blaine County, the district judge. I remember him going and not having him there to give me advice along the way. I remember several times going out of my office and walking down to his and then thinking, oh, geez, he's not there. He's now a judge and I would have to do it myself. My dad was a great judge. I remember he was just such an innate fair man that was a great place for him to spend those last 10 or 12 years of his career. And then he retired after that. I think he was 75 when he retired, so he practiced for quite a while. I went away to law school, and when I came back, I joined the firm and started to practice. There were 3 generations here practicing of Mays. I didn't have all this gray and white hair, I just had black hair. And the clients would come in and I would try and give them advice thinking I really knew what I was talking about. And as soon as they would leave, they would wait in the waiting room until Dad got free, and then they would confirm with him that what I'd told them was okay. And I couldn't believe that they would want to know from him after I had told them. I went into Dad and I said, what am I going to do? They don't believe what I'm saying. He said, just wait a little while till you get some gray hair, and then they'll believe what you tell them. So turned out to be pretty good advice over the years. I'd heard so often from people that you never want to get in a business with your relatives, that you would always have problems with that. I had an absolute ball with my dad and my son. It was a great experience. I cannot remember one time that we ever had a harsh word. It was a great experience for me. You always hope that your children will be good people. And so it's been a thrill to have Justin along. He is a very smart young man. So, and a good dad. I think as I've gone through my practice, just about anybody can practice law. They can know the law. But it's how they relate to people and how they deal with their family, how they take care of their children is the real mark of a man, in my opinion. And I've been proud of him. He's raised my grandkids very well and has a beautiful wife and is a good man. So yeah, he is my success story. One of them, one of 4. May in the name of the firm now was Justin instead of me or my dad or my grandpa, but he carried on that firm name with the May in it. I've always looked back at that and considered that a form of legacy that has existed since 1952. Great experience, and I think a great legacy to live, being carried on now with the law firm of Johnson May. I will tell you, you know, you get to this point in your life, and I think everyone looks back a little bit to see what they've done in their life, what has gone good, and what has been a challenge. Always challenges along the way, but I have been so proud to be an attorney. It has been a great opportunity for me to help people and to perhaps do something that they couldn't do for themselves. If you can get so that your career does that, I think that's a great success, to be able to look back and have good memories. And I can't remember any bad ones. I just remember the good ones, and there have been many.